Morning, guys. Welcome to Words from a Friend podcast. I'm your host, Marty Carey, and this is the podcast that follows my book, Words from a Friend, A Daily Guide to a Purposeful Life. It's available at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. We are on a 365-day inner journey together, so happy and grateful to have you along. We're on day 87 of that journey. Today's message is called The Assumptive Mind. The Assumptive Mind. Assuming. We're next few days are on assuming, so buckle up. We're gonna really take it to the assumptive mind, so we can wake up to it and say, "Oh yeah, okay, all right. I really got to stop doing that because that's when I get myself into trouble." Okay, the assumptive mind goes like this: in everyday life, we must make many logical assumptions. Logical assumptions, sure. Logical. We kind of know the steps. We've done them many times. This is the next thing. And, if this is kind of in my wheelhouse, that's logical that I could do that and this and that and the other thing. Those logical assumptions, okay? But then there's the ones where our ego gets in there and it starts getting, personal about things and making assumptions about people and, all kinds of stuff like that. And that's when we start nurturing that wheel of gossip and assuming and drama, unnecessary drama, comes from this part of assuming. A lot of times. In our relationships, however, assumption has no place, not if you want to live in the higher realms of love and peace in your life's expression. All of our assumptions are unique to each of us based on our past experiences, for the most part, past successes, past consequences, both negative and positive, right? You make assumptions, but we make a lot of assumptions about who we are, right? And we really don't know. It's just the conglomeration of the human experience thus far, unless you understand the foundation of who you really are. And then you will certainly start dialing down the amount of assuming that you do, because you want to know. You're curious about the truth rather than letting the ego assume, make it true, and then act on it as if it's true. That's the troublemaker in all of us. We have a troublemaker in there. Makes trouble for us inside because we're assuming, we're creating negative scenarios based on lies we tell ourselves because we assume them, and then we treat them as truth. Oh man, you hear what that person said? I'll bet they are a boom, and I'll bet they do this boom. And I'll be willing to bet $10 that this person, boom, 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 boom. Judgment, all based on one little smidgen of something that you saw. Wow, that's the ego is famous for that. Famous, not getting to the truth. Doesn't look for the truth. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it because it doesn't know it. The ego doesn't know truth. The ego is the self-created false self, the earthly created self, okay? But when you have a principled director inside of yourself and saying, okay, I got to pause here. I know nothing, and you go from you're just curious about finding the truth about people, if you're really curious, if you're drawn to that, or just, being in your best vibration, will lead you. The truth, you'll watch the truth. You'll want to know it. You'll be observant. You'll be looking for it. And the truth lives within us in our heart space. So that's what gives us the pause and say, hey, wait a second, this person's just like you. They may be having some trouble here or there, but when you get behind the scenes and see what they have faced, if everybody wore their story, like if they had a TV on their shoulder and they wore their story and all the stuff they went through and we could really see it in fast time, boy, compassion would come up like nobody's business. That's the awakening to the truth that we all have stuff to face. We all have a mission to complete. We all have hurdles to overcome, in this world, and that help us to rise into our best potential, our highest potential. The me you came here to be, okay? And really, the you came here to be has got to include the foundation for you and your family, that you are indeed the light, and you have everything that it takes to rise to any occasion. Rise doesn't mean you like it. a lot of times, but you rise to it. You bring your best to it. That's what rising to the occasion means. It means dumping that crappy attitude you had about it, dropping all the assumptions your ego was making about it before you get there. And, oh, this is going to be drudgery. This is going to suck. I don't really want to go. I don't really want to do this. No. Okay. Let your inner director, your soul, go. You don't think I'm bringing you here for a reason? You don't think this happened for a reason? What do you think you're supposed to bring to it? What do you think you're supposed to bring to it? Okay? Drop your ego. Drop the fear. Drop the attitude of it and just go, all right, I'm going. I have to do this. So, soul, we got to knock this out of the park. I'm not talking to my ego anymore. I'm just saying, all right, now I'm soul directed. And the soul says I can. Soul says I can knock it out of the park. Soul says I'm going to knock it out of the park. All right. Then that's what I'm going to assume the best. If you're going to assume the best about something, then assume the best. Assume the best for yourself. Because you got a choice to do it either way. You got a choice to assume either way. If you're going to assume in your favor and assume that you can do it. Assume that you can get that to that peak that you see that, oh man, if I could just do this, if I could say that, if I could just be, then great. That's another little place I've been and another little can't that I dropped off. Dropped off that old can't because I did it. Well, that's what it is. Life is a series of steps like that. Life is a series of steps like that. And the higher you do, the more you pass by fear, the more you realize, well, geez, what else can I do because fear is saying I could never do that. Well, who says? My soul says I can. If I put my attention on it and my goodwill into it and my heart is telling me this is something I'd love to do. Oh man, you've got to walk past fear. If your heart's telling you got to do something, and it's like, you can't stop thinking about doing it, and you're doing it in little ways already, but you'd like to expand upon doing that. That's calling you. That's what a calling feels like. That's what a calling feels like. Heard many times in my life. Marty, you missed your calling. You missed your calling. No, I don't feel I ever missed any of my callings. I really don't. I feel like every one of them was a step to where I am right now, and I listened to them. And I listened to them, and it got me to a good place. So it got me, and then I dropped off a cliff inside, had a dark night of the soul, and God said, "Okay, now I want you to write what I know you really know about yourself, but your ego is telling you, forget it. You're none of those things. You're a nothing. You forget your whole self in a dark night of the soul. It's called a deep depression, whatever that is. The terms they use." It's that you lose yourself and you're like, oh man, I'm a fraud. I'm this, I'm that. You're all that stuff that the ego is just like, boom, boom. I'm going to hammer you down into oblivion, till dust. And then you got to climb your way out with what? There's only one thing that you can climb out with is your light. You got to discover it in that darkness. And you got to use it to blast out of that darkness like a laser. One little step, one little day at a time, you're blasting away until all of a sudden that sun is shining in. And you go, oh my God, yes. Not only do I remember who I am, but I came out of this thing bigger because I did it. Because I came out of a pit of hell that my ego was saying, you're never getting out of this. Never. Ever, ever. This is the end of it. This is the end of it. You forgot who you are. You're a big nothing burger. All right? And then at that time, I was assuming that was true in my own head. Had to write my way out of it for two and a half years until somebody unexpected saw my writings. And his wife was a part of a 3-woman publishing team called Sunny Day Publishing in Ohio, and said, hey, buddy, my wife wants to publish your book. And I said, what book? Can you send me a manuscript? I can send you 200 or 2.5 years worth of Facebook posts, because that's what I had done to bring myself out of that pit of hell. And this is what resulted. So in the darkness, this was the light that brought me out. It was my own light, written every day for me to remember who I was. I had forgotten, so my job was to remember. God said, just get writing. I had heard the voice, just get writing. I had never written anything in my life. Here's 514 pages of getting out of hell. Remembering who you are. That's what happened. And I thank God for my buddy who helped me with his wife in Sunny Day Publishing. Thank you. Much love to you guys in Sunny Day Publishing. You guys are the best. The best. I appreciate it. Okay. But when I assumed I was out, God said, get up and write about it so you can help others. And that was the gift of the darkness. That was the gift buried in the dirt. That's what grew out of it and brought me back into the sunshine. Right? It was like journaling. So you should journal. Journal about the light. This was just journaling what the light would say to do, even though I was listening to everything the dark was hammering me with. While I was listening to that, I was writing the opposite. I was writing the truth, and I was going boom, and it lifted me a little bit. Dush, a little bit of light. Dush, thank you. I'm still in the pit of hell. Dush, share it. And I heard that. And the first day I posted one of these first posts on Facebook, I was like, my finger was over the top of the button, like, oh my God, I'm going to press this and I'm going to share this writing with people. I was nervous about it. Nervous. And then boom, first one. People go, wow, I needed to hear that today. And then that was it. That was my purpose. That was my way out. So, one day at a time, people. One day at a time. Taking the wheel back from your ego and say, no more. I'm not living in the dirt. I'm not meant to. I'm meant to come out of that dirt and help other people that are in the dirt to get out of the dirt and remember who they are so they can shine like the sun that they really are. You all have a sun inside of you. All of you. And when you recognize that that's who you really are, that's really what you want to live from. The rest is bullshit. We all feel that. We want to let the bullshit go. So we can all just go, finally, the world turned to light. We've been living crunched under somebody's big boot of negativity and greed and terrible stuff. The boot. We're cutting that leg off so that boot can never return. That's it. Let the sun shine in, baby. No more of that shit they're spraying in the clouds to cast over the sun. Sun. That sun. Everybody needs that sun. Imagine that, trying to cast it over so they can stop us from forgetting who we really are. That kind of shit. They know. They're years ahead of us. They don't tell us anything, right? So what do we know? We can feel it. We can see shit like that in the sky and go, it ain't right. None of this is right. And it hasn't been right for a long time. So we're not assuming that. We can see that. We can feel that in our hearts that it ain't right. That it ain't right how people are treated. It ain't right the system we live in. It isn't right. Nope. People starving, people doing terrible things to other people, trafficking, children. Terrible. People, wake up. Man, if we can't all come to the truth and get together in that, then there is no hope for us. Well, there is no hope. Might as well let that asteroid hit us. Might as well. But don't worry about that. Love has already won. We're just moving into it. We're moving back into it. Okay? You're part of it. So just bring your light to bear. Say no to the bullshit. We rise above the bullshit together. That's where we come together. In the truth. In the truth. Okay? See the bullshit for what it is and rise in the truth. No more assuming that no more assuming we get the truth from, outside ourselves anymore in this world. Right? So we have to resonate with the truth of all truths. You have to learn to hear it within. Resonate within. Right from wrong. Good from evil is already in here. We can feel both, and we have the capacity to become the opposite of who we really are. Look at around. There's evil in the world. Yeah, that's just lost mother skunchers that have just gone to the darkest of dark, and that the other souls don't matter at all. Don't matter at all. They don't even think in those terms. They just think of this earthly place as their kingdom. Everybody else is just ants. So, no. Truth is rising, friends. Truth is rising. That's what consciousness is. Consciousness is getting up to a place within ourselves, within our own knowing that is an actual knowing that we are, eternal beings of light. And this play we've been stuck in is is coming to a close, and the light's already said, okay, enough of that. Let's bring the light to this place and connect. Really connect. Not on this El Stupido news and hatred gizmo game that they just keep running for us, like an old movie that is just worn out. It's so gross. Okay, let's see. How many times during your day do you assume the worst will happen? How many times in your day do you assume the truth of a situation only based on the spoken word or perception of another? Yeah, it's like I was saying yesterday. Stop believing the negative predictions and prognostications of others. That's just their own limited mindset. That's their own mindset, and they're projecting. You got to know about projection. People are projecting their own mindset and their own ego out into the world every day. Just listen to what people say, and you know where they are, and you can kind of read the situation, right? Okay, so it's just where they are. It's just where everybody is. So always take that into consideration. Just say observant, and you observe and don't absorb. You can observe and don't absorb. You can just be the beneficial presence wherever you are, and that's it. That's your job, right? Be kind. Just be kind. Everybody's where they are, coming into this light, coming into this knowing. We're here to let other people know that we're here to be kind of ambassadors to the new way. Come out like a maitre d', like I did at the Crooked Lake House in two-tone shoes for years. Oh, I had quite the clown suit, the vest going. And because the place is so old, the Crooked Lake House is so old, it's, 175 years old, something like that. And it was the place where all the big bands played. Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, Guy Lombardo, all the greats played in that stage that's still there, on that same hardwood floor that is still there in the Grand Ballroom. And all the mobsters hung out there, Legs Diamond, and all those guys played cards in a speakeasy in the basement. This place is just incredible. Teddy Roosevelt, when he was the governor of New York, for 4 years he was governor of New York. The Crooked Lake Hotel was his summer home from the 4th of July to Labor Day. For 4 years, he'd travel back and forth from the governor's mansion in Albany by himself in his own carriage. He had an extra carriage up in a farmer up near the Crooked Lake House, kept an extra fresh set of horse and carriage for him to drive that drive by himself on dirt roads to Albany from Averill Park, from Sand Lake, Crooked Lake. And so he loved to hunt and fish up there. And, what a character Teddy Roosevelt was. So on the wall up at the Crooked Lake House, we have the copy of the hotel register where he and his family signed in with his name. And he became great friends with Willett Brown and his wife, who owned the hotel at the time. This is right, turn of the century. And he would send animal heads from his, stuffed animal heads from his many hunts and safaris. And at the time, from the time before we acquired the Crooked Lake House, there was only one stuffed animal when we got our hands on the Crooked Lake House. It was this old squirrel that my partner Jimmy called Corkscrew because it had an eye hanging out of it. It was probably loaded with asbestos and the whole thing they did in the day. But they became Teddy Roosevelt became great friends with the Brown family, and there's pictures and stuff like that up there about it. And we had a Teddy Roosevelt reenactor come there, and we had like over 300 people show up for a big dinner, and the guy knocked it out of the park. He looked just like him, talked his tales, took pictures of him fishing down in the lake where Teddy would have actually done it in around 1900, around that area. So just amazing history, and we feel so blessed to be the stewards of this place for the past 16 years. 16 years, we do weddings there and all. We do restaurant, we do summer outside on the lake dining, and all kinds of fun stuff. And it is the ultimate place that has always been what it is, a place of service. And I think that's why I love it so much. It is serving nature's best. You're on a beautiful little lake. You're on a beautiful little lake. You're having a dinner, and you can feel it in there. You can feel it. It's like where the Rat Pack would have hung out. And so the energy is just, when you walk in there, you feel it immediately. So if you're going to get married, come up and check us out. Seriously, it's just incredible. It's incredible. My wife Jan gives the tours and all fun stuff like that. So you can assume you're going to have a great time coming up. You can assume that. All right? Okay. So let's see. How often do you think of a future as a scary place because your normal life pattern assumes fearful outcomes or failure? How often do you spread your negative assumptions to those around you, creating dramas and low energy? There it is, projecting. You're projecting these fears out of here, out of your yapper, and you're projecting it around. Don't think you're not affecting the energy and the mindsets of those around you. Man, if you're doing that, you're bringing the whole show down. Beneficial presence comes in and says, you know what? Even if that happens, we're going to do this. All right, and we're still going to crush it. And no more of this negative crap. It can't live in this house. This house can't be successful with unimpeccable speech. It can't be, because it's just going to be wires crossed all over the place. Everybody got to be talking in the same direction, moving in the same direction for the same goal, easily, without the static of ego in there. That's when you got clean. That's when you got clean, effective, beautiful energy. Rolling. Okay? And you are, let your soul direct your energy. It's the kindest energy that's in you. You know, the ego can play kind, can play it, but that comes across as felt as manipulation. So, you know, that's where you got the con men and women of the world. They play that beautiful self, and, you know, they approach with it, and they sound like it, and then after a while you go, and they got you. Well, that's what's called a narcissist, and then once you're in, you're hooked. The next thing you know, it's none of that. It's just about control, and it's just like, ugh. So, but after you've gone through one of those, you better have learned your lesson, and you move forward, and you go, okay, I'm a detector now. I'm a detector of truth, and you start looking for it, and you take your time. You don't rush into things. You become more of an observer for a while and say, you know, let's see what's real and what's not real here. Let's see what's real and what's not real here. Let's not assume. Let's not jump in. Let's not be, you know, just always just gravitating to the shiny things without first observing for a little bit, giving some space. All right, let the soul show you what the truth is first. That's the smart way. It's really the wise way, you know. Soul says, give some space here first, and you can feel, and then your vibe, because the vibe could be good, people could be shiny right up front and all that stuff, and then, yeah, but did you know? And then all that shit starts. It's like, then it becomes just, you don't even want to do it. So I know I've had a lot of people tell me that. But at any rate, you still have to bring your best to the world, and that's for you. It's for you and those closest to you. You know, you whittle your circle down over time. You whittle your circle down over time to those that you go, okay, you know, these people have my back, and all that stuff, and you really know where people stand and that kind of thing. And that's why circles become smaller. Not that you don't love everybody, and you do. You love everybody, but it's just like, okay, where am I gonna spend my time, and where do I really want to spend my time in this chapter of my story, and what do I want to do in this chapter of my story? Remember, you are the writer, so every day that you get up, do something new. Start cracking into something new, you know, for yourself. For yourself. It's the little things. You start with the little things, because the little things, you know, little walk in nature, man. I always say it. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm telling you, especially when that sun is out. You know that, and we all can't wait. I'm already out, and it's like, all right, sun, let's go. Chip chop. Let's move it along, Mr. Sun and Mr. Temperature. We're all ready to go. Okay, today's CTA. Today, up your negative, hang up your negative meteorologist hat in exchange for great energy and harmony with all you meet. Have a great day. Same message, baby. Same message. Bring your best. Bring your best. Thoughts. Great words. Great words. Meaningful words. You know, light, speaking light. Learn how to speak light if you've been just speaking you know, sound like that same old stuff. You once you realize that You are the creator. You can create yourself anew, and delete old programs and create new ones within. That's it. Boy, I'll tell you what, we're moldable. We have neuroplasticity. You know, the mind will believe what we feed it. What we feed it. All right, so what do you want to feed it with? Feed it with truth. Be a truth seeker, right? And love is that truth. So whatever brings you closest to that truth in how you give and how you walk in life and embody that, the more you can do that each day, the more you'll cast out the shit that doesn't belong anymore. And then you just walk lighter in life. You give lighter. It's not this big thing anymore. It's simple, humble, you know? Humility is what can bring things, the simple things, into focus and say, those were always the best things. Those were always the best things. Simple laughter, you know, nature, being good to people, giving what you want to receive. Don't make it much more than that, you know. Try and keep it as simple as you can like that. That keeps the wheel of love flowing. It's not hard. The ego is what keeps it hard. Yeah, well, I can't love them because that's not. No, you can be flowing free. Doesn't matter what other people do or say. If they're in your face, they're right there. You know, you're there. Be kind. You're another soul, right? Remind yourself, and then remind them with a beautiful how do you do, because you're kind of looking at yourself. You really are. You're from a family that, you know, you don't always have to like what people do or any of that stuff. But simple humility, simple kindness, knowing that we all go through crap. And we all need love. We all need more love, not less. We all need more love, not less. Okay? The world needs more love, not less. So that puts all our job into perspective, doesn't it? That's your gift. That's your gift. Give more of it. First to yourself. Things you like to do, those new things that bring you feeling good. And then you want to do those other things. You feel like being Mr., you know, Zippity Doodah. More, or Mrs. Zippity Doodah. So that's the deal. That's the process. That's the formula. You're all of it. You're all of the above. Much love, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.